apparently the camera didn't like what I was saying, so it disconnected. I remember being embarrassed because, you know, we always pray in congregation, praying not in my, you know, house of worship, but at school, because I went to a private school that was Jewish, that, you know, my classmates and I were praying together. That it was uncomfortable to me, because when I was at Shul saying prayers, I was around more adults, and always only women, obviously, and I could completely tune everything out and just be listening to the rhythm and the cadence and making sure that I said it along and said the, you know, responses and so on and so forth, and trying to figure out the Hebrew and like listening to this person's accent and how they, you know, put up the tune this way, and yet that cantor does this, and, you know, whatever I was listening to. And then there's the meditative portion of it, which I really loved. That well, a lot of people make fun of it, actually, because Jews sway, and we sway in a really weird way, okay? If you've never seen it before, you would probably think it's weird, but I'll explain it if anybody wants me to, because it actually happened to me just recently, which you wouldn't imagine that while I was saying prayers at Orthodox Church that I would still get the same, yeah, still happens. And I supposedly, I guess, can explain part of what that phenomenon might be, but who knows? Maybe it's a habit because I saw everybody doing it as a kid. I really don't know. I don't think so, though. But, you know, it just depends on how you interpret these kinds of things, I guess. And so the embarrassment was with my, you know, schoolmates or whatever. It seemed so private a thing to be doing in what felt, even in a school, as so public to me. Like that it was like such a private conversation that I was asking to have with God, that to have people around me who I had just played tag with, or something like that, that it was too much of a weirdness. The only one that didn't feel weird was when we would bench, which it's the prayers after you eat. And I think the only reason that it didn't feel weird is because I love the way that's the melody of that song goes, and there's like parts in it where you like pound on the table and stuff, and it's, you know, yeah, it's always a big production with Jews, right? Anyway, so when I look at those kinds of memes, and I'm like, where do people get this stuff? I mean, I think maybe even part of the beginning of it is sort of supposed to be kind of like, you know, above rubies and that kind of thing, which, okay, I get that, whatever, bloody-duddy, but it's the last part that, and I think it gets people in so very much trouble, because they have expectations, kind of like a paycheck. Well, I've put this time into prayers, and, you know, I better get what I want out of it. It's like, oh my gosh, that is so creepy. What are you praying to exactly? Yeah, I remember when I first encountered this, I don't think I was more than 17. No, I might have been 19 by then. I think, yeah. And I worked at a YMCA, and I worked close to the pool area, and I used to chit and chat with, you know, the lifeguards and such. And one of them was this lady, and her husband, and they were both, I don't know if they were some kind of, they might have been like Jehovah's Witness or something. I don't know. They were something, and they told me what it was, and I knew then, and obviously it's been since I was 19, so who knows, right? But I got into a conversation once with the husband, and he was telling me that his daughter, who, by the way, his daughter always would be coming in and out of there and doing her swimming, and so it was always like that family was either working or swimming or whatever. They were all over the place. That she had been taught to pray since she was a little girl, and he was, kind of like, I don't know, bragging about how he had taught her to pray or whatever, and that she had considered it, such an important thing that she on her own always did that. Okay. And that the one time that she didn't pray before a test, she failed the test. And so when she came back with the failed grade, she was like crying and saying, "Oh, Papa, I'm so upset and this and that, and I'm really sorry because I know that I knew the material, but I didn't pray before I took the test, and so I know that I'm being punished." So I think this is why people get really frustrated with religion. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just focusing on semantics and like being too serious, because Jews talk things to death and figure out every detail. But I just think, gosh, what's being missed is the whole. I don't know. I think there's a lot being missed there, and it surprises me when I get to hear what people pray, because I don't know that that's what people pray. I don't know. So, anyways, don't get in trouble on Facebook, and enjoy the memes. Does anybody know how to make a meme? I'd like to learn how to make one, because there's certain ones that, well, whatever. I hope everybody's doing well, and wish you all bright blessings of peace. Take care.